Welcome in. Belly up, have a seat, and grab a drink as we talk some Wingman fantasy football. Welcome into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you, who may be watching or listening to today's show. This is episode 118, Week 10's 2-point conversation. And as always, it is my great pleasure to welcome into the bar Mr. Bernie, a.k.a. Team B.
Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
How are you doing tonight, Bernie?
About as consistent as a streaming defense. Yeah, you never know what you're gonna get.
Little Forrest Gump reference in terms of streaming defenses. I get it. I get it. All right, guys. This is another jam-packed episode for today as we will start off with some player news and notes. We'll go through the studs and duds for week number 10. We'll also settle into a nice Week 10's 2-point conversation where we go through all of the action during the Week 10 NFL week up to this point. But before we do any of that, let's make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingman assemble! All right, now that everyone is here, let's get into some player news. All right, there we go. All right, all right, we have a little stutter there. I apologize about that. Anyway, starting off with players who did not play on Sunday or this weekend, Amari Cooper was inactive this Sunday for the game against the Colts. He has missed at least 2 games now since being with the Bills. Brian Robinson Jr. can't get back on the field. He's now missed 2 consecutive games, making way for Austin Eckler and Jeremy McNichols to get the action for the Commanders. Keon Coleman also dealing with a wrist injury, same as Amari Cooper, was also inactive for the Bills. And Jonathan Brooks, despite having his entire 21-day practice window open, being activated at the last possible hour from that, was not activated for the game today against the Carolina Panthers in Munich. What do you have on these first 4 players not getting on the field?
Well, Buffalo could have used him, but didn't really need him, Cooper. So I'm okay with that. As far as Robinson and Coleman, Robinson, I don't really have any opinion on that. That's kind of a hit or miss for me. You know, they're not really missing too much there. As far as production, I believe, I think their game scripts are really kind of get up early, and kind of go, go with it, stretch the field a little bit more. Now they could have used him today, but I don't think it would have really mattered today. Coleman, again, they didn't really need him on the field, but you're right. Brooks is the one that we're looking at, and I don't know. What do you have an opinion on Brooks? I don't know maybe it was the international game that threw him off.
I have not a theory, I guess. I don't think it's that strong, but all right. So if they didn't bring him back by, I think it was Wednesday, it was Tuesday or Wednesday, but it was a 4:00 deadline.
Mhm.
If they didn't bring him back by that time, he was out for the rest of the year. So my thought is, why start his 21-day window?
Mhm.
You can start that whenever you want.
Okay.
But once you start it, the clock starts ticking. But you can set the alarm for whenever you want. They set the alarm,
Mhm.
and they didn't get wake anyway. They're like, oh shoot, we're late for work. They activated him at the last possible minute. I don't think he's healthy. And then they signed Chuba Hubbard to an extension the next day. I don't think he's healthy, man. I think they mishandled his injury, or he had a setback, and they're not letting us know. I mean, it's hard to say that, but the order of events. That makes sense to me. You think you activate him because you think he's getting healthy. He used the entire 3-week window. You have to activate him because of circumstance at that point where he's done for the year. And the next day you sign the incumbent to a 4-year extension, not a 2-year extension, a 4-year extension. That's the entire length of the rookie contract.
The rookie contract, yeah.
So I'm thinking he's either had a setback or they misevaluated his health and he's not going to be ready, or he might have like some sort of a degenerative injury. I don't know. I don't want to go to the worst end of this. But none of this makes sense except for how I kind of laid it out there.
Well, do you think anybody's going to get fired over this at the end of the season that we won't know about? And then maybe some staffers, some medical stuff. it is one of those things where even the player's quiet, the agent's quiet, the player's quiet. So it's like, if nobody knows what's going on, it's kind of interesting.
I mean, maybe like you said, it was just the timing of the game. It's a stressful travel for your first
Hmm.
game. So I mean, he traveled with the team, I believe. I'm not positive that he wasn't deemed inactive till today or last night, or it wasn't like he's not traveling with the team and he's
Right.
being held back. Yeah, I don't know. I find all the nuggets of information intriguing. Maybe he'll be ready by next week. I mean, I could also be just that contract extension mixed in with him not being ready when they thought he would, and
Yeah.
when they set the clock makes all this a little just I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see, obviously, but that's how I kind of think. I think he's either not ready in the next few weeks still, which again they didn't have to start that clock. I don't know why they did.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
All right. Other players who missed this weekend's game. T. Higgins did not play on Thursday night as he's missed his third consecutive game, and I believe it's his fifth for the year. He's only played half this season so far. Nico Collins, he also had interesting timing in terms of his designation to return as he was on the IR. So there's certain timings again for this guy here. He had to be designated to return by Friday,
Hmm.
or he could not be activated for this week. He had to be activated from the designation to return by Saturday so he could be active for Sunday. All those two things happened at the buzzer. But they
Hmm.
happened, and then he was not active for today. Once again, he must have been truly questionable, truly game time decision,
Hmm.
because if they had any thought he wasn't going to play, they could have held the roster spot for somebody else. So anyway, yeah, they hit the hurdles last minute again, but he was not active tonight. Let's just do these last two players, and you can add your thoughts to Nico Collins there. Michael Pittman was also inactive for the Colts against the Bills, and Christian Olave was placed on IR due to those concussions, which makes the absolute most sense. But that just means he's going to be sidelined for 3 more games because he was put on the IR before today's game, so today's game counts. All right, so we had T. Higgins, Nico Collins, Pittman, and Olave.
Yeah, so I'll start at the bottom of that list. Olave, it's they could have used him, but they didn't need him, and they won that game without him and Rashid Shaheed on the field. So get that interim bump, and they played like dogs. So Pittman definitely could have been used in this game. So I think that without Pittman, that Joe Flacco is struggling a bit. Um, Nico or Higgins, uh, Higgins is a factor, but Higgins is just going to take a piece of the pie that's already going to get cooked. They're gonna get those yards no matter what. And Higgins is just gonna get a piece of it. So for fantasy value, that's something to really kind of look at with that lingering issue. Nico Collins, that is interesting because they haven't played good when he's not there, honestly. They haven't played like the dominant team that we all thought they were going to be. So I don't think it's regression. I think he makes the team better when he's on the field.
The other thing I actually want to mention about Michael Pittman, we kind of forgot, but I don't know
Mhm.
exactly how long ago it was. Maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. Remember, he had that weird back injury. It was like he might need season-ending surgery. Or he's going to go to IR or miss
Yeah.
anyway between going to IR 4 to 6 weeks and something longer. To never mind, he's going to play this week, and
Mhm.
he played for like 2 or 3 weeks. At least he was active, and we kind of at that point just figured he was healthy. But maybe this is I don't know what his actual ailment was that he missed today. With I didn't see that, but there was the rumblings 3 or 4 weeks ago that he had a potentially serious back issue, and we kind of just forgot about it. But I don't know if it went away.
Yeah, these lingering things that the players sometimes need somebody to step in to protect them from themselves because they're not going to be 100% honest if they know they can't get on the field because they got bonuses they got to hit. They got paychecks to cash. They got things to do. They want to play. They're dogs. They want to make sure that they're putting their team in the best position to win. But sometimes that's when you're on the bench. Sometimes when you get to let the next guy up if you can't perform. So.
All right, let's get to our next batch of players here. I know I gave you a little heads up. I'm going to skip around a little bit because I'm going to put
Yep.
our most interesting player at the bottom of this. So we have Trevor Lawrence was also inactive this week. We know this guy can play through injuries, but that AC joint sprain was just too much. And Jaguars, even though they fought pretty hard today, now I think it's been written for them. It is time to go into true tank mode, and I don't mean Tank Bigsby. Dak Prescott was reported to need season end on the ESPN timeline or ticker, whatever you want to call it, across the bottom, the
Mhm.
crawl. So Dak Prescott to get season-ending surgery. I swear to God, you can't trust these guys for nothing. I'm not saying these things aren't going to happen, but he has not been placed on IR at all. If he's going to have season-ending injury, they think they would do that right away. And he's looking to get a second opinion. That opinion might say season-ending surgery is required, but he has not happened as of yet. So that may be the case, but the fact that it was being reported as like imminent, he's still going to take some time and figure that out for sure. CeeDee Lamb, who left the game in and out last week, did play today through an AC joint sprain, and he probably would have been better off just taking the day off. Aaron Jones left this game with a chest injury, missed a little bit of time, about almost a full quarter, but did return to get back on the field at the end in a comeback victory for the Vikings. Now, the last guy on this list here, we're going to talk about him a little bit. We'll just do it now. Might as well. Christian McCaffrey was activated from the IR on Saturday by the deadline, and he was also active for his season debut against the Bucs. As you and I are the two managers with the handcuffs, if you will, for McCaffrey, what did you think about his snap share, his quality of play, or anything else in between?
I think they did a great job. They did a great job managing him on the field. He played as good as anyone could have expected somebody coming back from that long off. It was a hot day out there on that field too. So, they didn't want to beat him up too hard because of, I think, recovery. But I think it was smart. It was a smart play for King George to play him. It was smart for us to hold on to those backups. So now we see what the going forward, what the week of practice looks like. If he's taking rest breaks, that's the only thing I'd be concerned about. If he's like missing practice, and it's just for rest, then that's a concern.
Yeah, so as far as I saw, due to reports, we all know how we feel about the San Francisco reports in terms of health and for these guys. But it said he made it through the week without any major setbacks. I was listening to this game. It sounded like he got more. He was more using the passing game than the rushing game to try and alleviate some of those pressure points, I guess. But a few carries he got, he was getting hit pretty hard. But he got hit a lot last year. He was I held my breath every time he got tackled in a pile. But he seems to bounce back. I mean, so he didn't. I mean, he was getting hit. He had this was a full day's work. I think I looked. It was 88.8% snap share. Jordan Mason had one carry, and Garendo only had one carry.
Yeah, and when I'm talking about for the practice, this upcoming week's practice,
right,
to see what his recovery would look like for this upcoming week. But yeah, I mean, he looked good. So, and you know what though, that game was probably closer than it should have been. I'm just gonna say, I mean, we'll talk about it in the conversation, but Baker's the man. Baker's playing lights out, and he's tough as nails this season.
Yeah. All right, and the house is burning around him. He's trying to hold it up the best he can.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it is now time to see who performed well and who didn't in this week's Studs and Duds.
Wingman Fantasy Football Studs and Duds.
All right, Mr. Bernie, why don't you start us off with our stud list this evening?
Ooh, I might have to let you start because the two top players are your favorite players. Mr. Kyler Murray, he looks amazing on the field. 28.74 fantasy points, 266 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, only 21 rushing yards, but 2 rushing touchdowns. And those rushes, they look good. The scrambles look good. He looked great. Next up on this list, Calvin Ridley, Mr. Roller Coaster himself, 22.9 points. It's 84 receiving yards, 5 receptions, and 2 receiving touchdowns. And he was catching balls from Will Levis in stride. Some of them he had to slow down just a little bit, but he was getting hit in stride. He looked good out there. Chase Brown, 19.9 points, 94 total yards, 9 receptions, and 1 rushing touchdown. And James Conner, 19.8 points, 113 total yards, 5 receptions, and 1 rushing touchdown.
Yeah, Connor definitely set the day with a long reception to start the day and then pounded in for a short touchdown. And then that was pretty much all she wrote. Those Jets, we'll get into it more. The Jets just could not get out of their own way today. They had a tough go on offense, especially at the second half. All right, other players who made the stud list. I don't even know, is it Tylan Wallace from the Baltimore Ravens. This is not Zay Flowers. This is not Rashad Bateman. This is not even Deontay Johnson. Tylan Wallace had 19 points, and he was efficient, man. 115 receiving yards on only 3 receptions, but he scored a long touchdown. And your man, you were calling for it. He's not your man anymore, is he? Yeah. George Pickens had at 18 points as he had a touchdown hold up, as he had 95 total yards with 5 receptions and that 1 receiving yard. And Austin Eckler for the second straight week, not in the stud list, but in the top performer list with the missing Brian Robinson. This time he makes it in the stud list with 17.6 points. He did his best Ramondre Stevenson impersonation with 51 total yards, only 1 catch, but he had those 2 rushing touchdowns. Oh, and how can I forget? Did this happen today? Did Ramondre Stevenson get on here? Well, I'm not sure if that's old. I think that's old.
I can pull it up. I got the box score here. Hold on. Go ahead.
All right, I thought that Ramondre Stevenson was last week, but the line was very similar that Austin Eckler hit this week. So now we have 2 more players on our stud list, as we have a very short stud list this week. Why don't you finish us off, Mr. Bernie?
Oh, yeah, and I'm going to finish you guys off with 2 defenses. Defenses wins championships. New England defense, 17 fantasy points. They had 9 sacks, held their team under 7 points, and held them under 200 total yards. That is a manly defense right there. And the Philly defense, what they picked up off the waiver wire, good pickup. 16 fantasy points for Philly's defense, 3 sacks, 1 interception, 4 fumble recoveries, held their opponent under 7 points, and also 200 yards.
Wow. I was talking to Bernie a little bit on pre-tape here. I usually give you 2 streaming defenses in these early targets, and they usually stay the same as we get to the waiver wire show here. And they don't both hit all the time, but of the 2, whenever I say 2, one's usually one of the top 3 defenses for the week, and the other one is what you would expect out of a streaming defense. So if 50-50, I think you picked up the Giants. Am I not mistaken? The other one we mentioned?
I did pick up the Giants. You know what? I need to stop doing research for everybody's teams and start doing it more for my team.
Okay. All right. Unfortunately, whenever they're studs, it seems like this week we have 3 times as many duds. So just buckle in. We're going to go through these as fast as we can. Why don't you start us off with these duds this week?
All right, Mr. Sam Darnold, seeing ghosts like a couple years ago, 12.44 points. Kirk Cousins, it's okay, though, 12.24 points for Kirk. Bryce Young, 12.04. And Mac Jones, he got on the field, 11.24 points.
I know I said we go through this fast. I can't help myself. So Bryce Young's been a dud list twice in a row, but he has 2 straight victories and it has a dud. He's mega managing the game. And you mentioned Sam Darnold being afraid of ghosts. What are they going to do with it when they wear the all whites? Is he going to be afraid to throw to Justin Jefferson?
Oh my gosh.
All right, other players to make this team. These are some of these are surprises, to be honest with you, and some aren't. Baker Mayfield, they used the running game today and the short screen passes. Baker Mayfield had only 8.94 points, but that was not indicative of his play on the field. It was just how how well the defense played for the Bucs and how well he managed the game with his running backs. Jaden Daniels, similar to Baker Mayfield, the running backs got all the work. He only had 6.76 points. And this guy, we told you to sit him. Is it time to start thinking about dropping this guy? Caleb Williams has found a permanent home on our dud list at 6.3 points. And Aaron Rodgers huffing and puffing and scowling his way through the 4th quarter in dismissive dismay had only 6.04 points.
All right, now we head to the A-Town, Atlanta's backfield. Mr. Tyler Algier, 5.9 points. Let Bijan cook, please. You stay right where you are on this dud list. Xavier Legette had a good week last week, but only 5.5 points today. Zay Flowers, there's somebody out there getting all your points, bud. I don't know who that is, but you only got 5.4 points. And Mr. CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Rush can't throw it to you. Trey Lance throws it to the other team. You only got 5.4 points as well.
Some of these guys are hard to mention here, but we did mention them as potential pickups. Ray McCloud, I think this had to do with Drake London getting a full game today. He didn't do horrible, but he had 5.1 points. Yeah. Mike Gesicki, even with T. Higgins out, we thought he was the number 1 handcuff type player. He only got 5 points. As a Hudson, the other tight end, got most of the effective stats for the Bengals on Thursday night. Devin Singletary has seeded the backfield. We said it last week, and it remains true today. He only had 5.0 points. And Travis Etienne, no muy bien, had only 4.9 points.
Oh yeah, and here comes the Caleb's buddies here. DJ Moore, only 4.2 points. Braylon Allen, 3.9 points. That's expected. He's a jet. Jordan Addison, 3.9 points. And the other side of that wide receiving core, Roma Dunze, 3.8 points. Sorry, boys.
Some of these guys are a little what's the word I want? Surprising here. Devontae Smith, despite the high scoring game for the Eagles, had none of it. He only had 2.4 points. I didn't see any injuries on him. You could maybe double check that as we go along later. I just didn't notice him pop up there. Brian Thomas Jr. Had only 2.2 points as he had a backup quarterback on his throwing to him. And oh my God, a starting quarterback today had only 2 points. Cooper Rush. Get more like Cooper Rush out of town, man. You're having a hard day. Couldn't even finish the game. Had to cede snaps to Trey Lance and Javonte Williams. Oh my goodness. What happened to your workload, my friend? He only had 1.7 points. I was trying to trade him away all pre-week, and everyone was wise to it. They did not accept.
Oh my goodness. All right. And now, the KC wide receiver rookie, Xavier Worthy, 1.6 points. Oh, I wonder if Red Sox Nation started him. Deontay Johnson, 1.1 points. Ray Davis, 0.6 points. Jordan Mason, 0.5. And Tank Bigsby, 0.4. Ray and Jordan, kind of expected that they weren't going to get any big playing time. But Tank, that's tough for the virtual goose there.
Yeah, I only put Jordan Mason there because he has been a starter, and it was more to bring home the point that we mentioned earlier that he did not get on the field today.
Exactly. And as far as Cooper Rush, one quick comment. It's not your fault, Cooper. Apparently, it's the play caller. Whoever's calling the plays, he's going to get fired, or somebody's getting fired, but nobody's really getting fired.
All right, guys. Well, luckily, with that many duds, this was a very much a boom or bust game. You guys already saw that Thursday night game, and we're going to start right there with our Mecca studs.
Mega Studs.
All right, starting off with the top performer of the week. I believe this is the top performer for the season. Jamar Chase on Thursday night had 49.9 points. What, you couldn't get 50? Come on, man. He had 264 receiving yards, 11 catches, and 3 touchdowns. I wish I remember the stat I was going to look up, and I forgot. He's the only player in NFL history to have 200 and some odd plus yards mixed with multiple touchdowns. I don't know if it was 3 or if it was just 2 or more. He's the only player to do that multiple times. That stat line's been hit by by multiple receivers over the course of the NFL history, but he's the only one to hit it multiple times. And I think he's hit it at least 3 times. Some of that's a little fuzzy on my end, but the overall sentiment is he can get big games more than anybody. Joe Burrow, his teammate, had 33.72 points with 428 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and 6 rushing yards. This is the second straight week Joe Burrow's on the Mecca stud list. He has been on a roll lately. And Jalen Hurts at 33.68 points. He did this in 3 quarters, guys. He had 202 passing yards, 56 rushing yards, 2 passing TDs, and 2 rushing TDs. Like Red Sox Nation said when he drafted him, it's like drafting a quarterback and a running back in one position. Lamar Jackson, man, another quarterback at 32.9 points in that shootout on Thursday. He had 290 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns. He is not just doing his legs, guys. He's getting passing touchdowns this season. 33 rushing yards, and they converted a 2-point conversion. Bijan Robinson.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon?
The great Bijan had 27.9 points, 144 total yards, 3 receptions, and 2 rushing touchdowns. I got something to say about that when we get to that game. Chuba Hubbard, had 24.9 points as he had 169 total yards, or as I wrote it here, 1,169 total yards. 4 receptions and 1 rushing touchdown. He did leave the game with a little bit of a knee injury. I think it was just a scare. He kind of got bent backwards, but on the replay, he actually got bent the correct way backwards. His knee kind of didn't buckle, it just bent underneath him, and he came right back in 2 plays later and finished off the game strong. Marquez Valdez Scantling at 24.4 points, 109 receiving yards. He was he had 3 receptions and 2 receiving touchdowns. Key of efficiency, him and Tylan Wallace. These guys are your randos, efficient guys for the week. What do you have on some of these mecha studs here? There's some big time performances this weekend.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Chase and Burrow would trade their mecha stud status for a win. Jalen Hurts, man, 3 quarters, that is amazing. But imagine how many points he could have gotten if he played more. And, nobody else I really care about because none of them are on my roster.
What's up with that? All right, guys, it is now time for us to settle into a nice 2-point conversation.
Is Jack Del Rio going to go for 2 here,
He's
Link?
going for 2.
The Raiders will go for 2 and the probable victory with 47 seconds left.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in a position to win.
As the
Wingman
Raiders
Fantasy
go for 2
Football's 2-point conversation.
And it's good! Oh my goodness!
All right, why don't you set the agenda for this week's 2-point conversation? Where are we starting?
All right, we are going to start. Oh, man, but I already looked up all the things that you just asked me to look up. Okay, here we go. We're going to start in London. The Carolina Panthers defeated the New York Giants 20-17 in an overtime in Germany.
So this one was about what you'd expect. It was close all day. Both teams relied on their running game. Chuba Hubbard was awesome. Tyron Tracy was very solid. I believe the Giants kicked a field goal to tie it. Were they the ones who kicked the field goal to tie it at the end of regulation?
The Panthers?
I thought the Giants did. I thought the Panthers
the
were
Giants
ahead.
did. Yes.
Yeah, right. And then the Giants won the toss. And our man Tyrone Tracy fumbled the very first carry to give the ball into field goal range. And knowing that they had Bryce Young, they just ran the ball up the middle 3 times to get. They're already at the 20-yard line and just let Pinheiro get the game-winning kick. So this game was a running back central. Tyrone Tracy played well. I thought Daniel Jones was kind of airmailing the ball a lot on screen passes. He was throwing over their heads. There was a couple third downs that I felt like he was throwing shorter than he needed to, and he also wasn't hitting the outlet passes either. So it was like not the best decision, and he couldn't even do the easy play.
Yeah, for sure. And he had 2 interceptions. That was a tough one for Daniel Jones. A couple other things here. Chuba Hubbard definitely earning his pay in this game. So good job there. And it was noticeable that the Giants started off slow, but they kind of picked this game. They got it going. Panthers led 10-0 early, and I was really worried, but the Giants rallied from 17-7 deficit in the 4th quarter. So the Giants played good ball. That was a tough loss.
Yeah, as I was watching that game, I was I think it might have been that time I was 10-zip or so. I'm like, do not give up on the run, Giants. The Panthers cannot pull away. Just stay with your game plan. Some of these teams don't play the time and score because the time scores doesn't matter because these guys are not going to separate. It's going to stay here for a while. So just got to score once.
Exactly. And it looked like, I don't know if you had said it in the player news, but Miles Sanders, I don't think anybody's rostering him. But
I didn't. But yeah.
He did have a foot and ankle thing. And then Malik Neighbors, he did clear their little concussion protocol.
That's right. Yep. Very good. Oh, sorry. A little bit breaking. The Miami Heat won by 1 point. How'd that happen? They stinking over in late game situations. I don't know. Go back and check that out. Sorry about that. All right. What's our next game here?
All right. Next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs defeated blah, 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 blah. Let's start that one again. Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Denver Broncos 16-14 on a blocked field goal.
So I have Kansas City Chiefs. I sat Mahomes today because I did not like this matchup, but I had bye weeks and stuff. I played more Chiefs than I wanted to. They did okay in terms of my players. Not that that's the important thing here, but I was very impressed with Denver. I was listening to the Bucs game, but I was a box score watching this one, refreshing. Watching the refreshed game, Gamecast, and what was it? Sorry, Denver got off to a 14-3 lead. They scored right away, and then both teams kind of just slowly stalled along. And they scored again. They're at 14-3 for most of the game, and I like this in terms of I thought they were going to pass a lot more, but most of the passing went to Kareem Hunt today. He didn't rush that well, or maybe he did by the end.
No,
I did
only 35 rushing yard for Kareem.
Yeah, so he had 100 total. He had 100 yards. He got a lot
Yeah.
of receiving yards today. Okay,
Yeah, 65. Yep.
there you go. And anyway, so there was a drive late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, at this point, it would have been 14-10.
14-10.
No, because it was when Chiefs took the lead on a field goal. So it was 14-13.
Okay. Yeah, yep.
There was about 7 minutes left. Earlier in the game, the Chiefs scored on a 4th down. So again, it was 4th down at like the 2-yard line, give or take. It was inside the 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, in my head, I always think about these situations. What should you do? I'm like, you got to go for the touchdown here and then go for the 2 and get it by 7. But that, because I thought there was 5 minutes left. Where it's, or I thought there was, whatever time I thought there was more time or less time than I thought. I'm like, actually, you can go ahead here because you can stop them. If they score, you can still get the ball back. That's what it was. There was enough time that just take the lead now, as I thought about to myself back and forth.
Are you talking about, okay, so Butker's field goal was 5 minutes and 57 seconds left in the game to take the lead.
Okay, by the time they actually kicked it, because I think they ran the ball and just kind of let the clock run out. They had the ball inside the 5 with 7 minutes to go. They probably took 1 minute and 10 to get to that field goal. Okay, 5:57 you said?
5:57, correct.
Okay. Anyway, so my thought was kick the field goal because even if they score, you'll get the ball back. Right. And I was very impressed. Sorry, it took me a while to get there. I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good.
The Broncos did what you would think the Chiefs did. I'm like, there's no way the Broncos can use up 6 minutes. It's hard. It's hard to use up time and still score. You know what I'm saying? And they did. They used the entire 6 minutes, keeping it out of the hands of Mahomes. You're like, don't give Mahomes any time. They didn't. They played it perfect. They went down to what, like the 12-yard line, 18-yard line, give or take. Got the ball down to 5 seconds. Did their last spike or timeout, whatever they had. Came in for the field goal to win the game at the buzzer. I'm like, I was so proud of the Denver Broncos for doing what the Chiefs always do, just managing the time and not giving the other team a chance. And the stupid Kansas City Chiefs blocked a kick to stay undefeated. They did not deserve to win this game. The Broncos played so well in terms of situational football, and it still doesn't matter. I don't know how the refs let the Kansas City Chiefs block this kick, but they did it. They did
it. Do you have your tinfoil hat under the bar or something? No. It was a good win. It was a good win. You pretty much covered it, so I got nothing else to say on this one.
I said I was a box score watching. Do you happen to see this? Knicks had a solid game, but I didn't see how they. Oh, there's one more thing I do want to talk about before we leave this game. But go ahead.
Yeah. I did see the block at the end. I did see like the last little bit. I was watching the game throughout, but back and forth between other games. And they played well. Both teams played well. The Chiefs didn't play dominant, so they haven't played dominant though. So I'm not expecting that right now. And it was one of those things though. So it's pretty cool. But the Chiefs, their 15-game win streak is the longest in NFL since the Packers 19 straight back in 2010 and 11.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention, I was trying all week to find a way to get off of DeAndre Hopkins, even though we had that great game last week because of the Patrick Surtain effect. Again, just by box score, I would say like incomplete, defended by Surtain. So I don't know if he was following him around, but I did see his name pop up next to Hopkins quite a bit. Even when there's a catch, he would get the tackle.
He was following
I'll
him.
take the 7.5 points from DeAndre Hopkins in a Surtain matchup. You're kind of expecting not to have a good day. And he almost scored a touchdown, but I think that same drive went to Kelsey. So it was a pick 'em. Didn't matter who actually scored in that term. But the biggest news here, I think, even though it doesn't seem like it because we're kind of sleeping on the Denver Broncos, is that Audric Estime got all the work today. Pardon me, in the rushing game, as Javonte Williams only had 1 carry. He did have a couple receptions, so I don't know what the snap share was. He might have been on the field on 3rd downs for blocking purposes, but when it came to running the ball, Estime got most of the work. Yeah,
that backfield is risky, man. I know you're holding on to some assets for that backfield, but I don't want to mess with that backfield.
Not right now. They've been saying for weeks they wanted to turn it over to some of the younger guys, and since they hadn't been doing it, you're like, sure, whatever, and they finally did it.
Yeah, and McLaughlin's a good back, and he should get more plays, screen passes and stuff. But he just doesn't for some reason right now. Maybe they're saving it for playoffs. Maybe they're that confident.
All right, what's our next game on the docket here?
All right, the Pittsburgh Steelers defeated. Yes, let me repeat this. The Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Washington Commanders 28-7, and boy, was this a big win at the end of the game.
I'm sure you just misread 28-27.
28-27. Yes, I'm sorry. Did
No,
I
that's
say
fine.
that
I just
wrong?
want,
Yeah.
this game was very close, so we just want to get that conveyed before we start here. So the Steelers got off to a nice start with George Pickens getting that nice back fade touchdown, kind of reverse dive, if you will.
Acrobatic.
Yeah, that was a great catch. And how long were you waiting to see if a penalty flag was going to pop up? I was like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
I stopped what I was doing, and I was like, that was a great catch. Where's the flag? Where's the flag?
So they got off to a good start there. And then methodically and just over time, I was just kind of wasn't focusing on this one too much. I don't know if there were turnovers or not, but it seemed like slowly, not in big chunks, but the Commanders scored 3 points, a touchdown, 3 points, 3 points, touchdown. Before you knew it, they were up by 6 points with 3 minutes to go, or give or take, whatever it was. They were just slowly coming back. I mean, there were some answer scores by the Pittsburgh Steelers, but being that they're up 10-0, I think it was. Like I said, it just took the whole game, and it seemed like Washington was starting to take over this game in terms of the game script and just how it was going. But there was just enough time. You don't give Russell Wilson time. We all know this. How this game ended. What was the go-ahead score here?
So the game was sealed with the Commanders. There's Johnny Newton jumped off sides on fourth down. If they would have gotten that fourth down stop, they would have won. They would have had a chance to win the game.
That was on the touchdown drive?
No. That was the last second of the game.
Okay. I got you.
It was fourth down, and Russ was at the line trying to bait them off, and they baited him off, and that was the game.
Okay, just to run the clock out. You mean they already had the lead at that point?
Exactly. Well, they got the first down, right? They got the first down, and they were gonna do that. So
Pittsburgh was in just clock management mode, but it worked. They got an extra set of downs to finish off the clock.
Exactly, but they were gonna be punting it. So
that would have been amazing if they would have not had that penalty, and we would have seen Jaden Daniels have a second chance at a long Hail Mary to win the game at the buzzer.
Oh yeah. That it definitely would have been. That would have been awesome. And Commanders led this game at 24-14 at one point.
Right.
So the Steelers really did a good job of coming back.
Steelers started off hot and then ended hot. The go-ahead touchdown was scored by Mike Williams, newly acquired wide receiver from the Jets, and he said he was so happy to be off the Jets. I'm sure it was just a headache to be on that team and a miserable place to be. So he goes from a last-place team to a first-place team. That's a good deal.
And that was a 32-yard touchdown catch. So that was sweet, and it was a nice basket over the shoulder kind of catch. Oh, it was a pretty catch. So good job, Mike Williams. All right, moving on. Minnesota defeated Jacksonville 12-7. Big high scoring game.
I had this game up on the thing. There wasn't anything happen. It was 7-0 by the Jaguars, and because I was playing against Darnold, so that's why I just kind of had the box kind of checking that one on the side, and I was like, nothing's happening. Is something wrong? Do I have to restart my computer? What's going on? There's been nothing happening forever. And then it was 7-3, and then it was 7-6. And you said they finished with 7 points, right? The Jaguars?
Jags, yeah.
They just kept kicking field goals. Was it 4 field goals?
Yeah, it was all field goals. It was all field goals from their new kicker.
Right, something Romo. It's like a hyphenated Romo name. I don't know if he's a rookie as well, but he came in and had 4 field goals there. I think they were all short because every time I was like, fantasy box score watching is like Sam Darnold's in the red zone, but then I look at the thing real quick. It's like 1st and 10 at the 12. So all these field goals were close. They didn't score touchdowns. They had so many opportunities to score and they just didn't. But it was enough. It was enough.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you some stats for this particular game only. Dominated. The Vikings dominated these stats. 402 total yards against 143. 82 plays against 43 plays.
Oh.
42 minutes time of possession versus 17 minutes.
Wow.
28 first downs versus 10. And the score was only 12-7. It is ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh, I know why. And I forgot I was going to mention this. How that happened was Sam Darnold did not have his touchdown pass. He had 3 interceptions. That's what it was. That was like, how do you get that many yards and not score? They'd move down the field halfway and then give it back, and the other team go 3 and out. They move halfway down the field, the other give it back, go 3 and out.
And it's not something that we saw, but I think there's something up here because all 3 interceptions came while targeting Justin Jefferson. So there might have been some routes that maybe weren't run the right way, or maybe Darnold thought that he was going to be at a certain spot, or, just some sort of miscommunication or timing thing. So I don't think it was just Sam throwing it, but badly. I think there was something off there if all 3 came from targeting Jefferson.
I would have to. I mean, it could be anything, but I'm going to give Justin Jefferson the benefit of the doubt since he's the All-Pro. But anyone could be susceptible to a mistake. So
exactly. But good win. Also, this Vikings win kept me on the edge of my seat because I am now moving on to next week in my elimination pool.
Ooh,
I was close though. I was like, oh man, I'm going to get.
How many people are left out of how big of a field?
3 out of like 60 something, I believe. 3 are
Ooh.
left. Yeah.
So you can win any week. Any week this thing could be over.
Yeah, pretty much. So
all right.
All right, moving on here. New Orleans Saints defeated the Atlanta Falcons 20-17. All right, so notable things in this game here. We got first game under interim Saints head coach Darren Rizzi after the Dennis Allen firing. Saints snapped a 7-game losing streak. They won despite missing Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, which was good. The Falcons, they outgained the Saints 468 yards to 365 yards, but still lost. And this is the big one for me. Koo, he missed 3 field goals. First time in his career he's ever done that. So Matthews' late interception put the Saints 38 was a key moment in this game. Young's sack on Cousins pushed them back 19 yards at the end of the game. And the final play, McLeod was just barely short of that first down. So this was a tough one. It was a back and forth. I saw a good play on both sides, but I saw, some really bad plays on both sides. Cousins played well. And Derek Carr played well. They, no turnovers for Carr, and Cousins only had his 1 interception. But the running game, you want to talk about the running game, Mike?
Before we get there, because I know it seems like Derek Carr he's not a methodical type of a player, which is fine. There's all different types of quarterbacks. But if he can find someone who can just run straight down the field, he will try and chuck it out there to him. Shaheed was the monster man in the first third of the season. Yeah. And Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he caught it. Yeah. He can always run down there. You can always throw it to him, but he actually caught it. Yeah. But that was where he got the big touch. They only scored 2 touchdowns today, right? So both were went to Scantling. So Derek Carr is a shot in the dark when it comes to long bomb touchdowns. Now to the running game here. So if you go to wingmanfantasyfootball.com, I kind of use the comment section there as my quasi Twitter things. I don't post on Twitter. Anyway, so I was box score watching this game intently. Like I said, I was listening to one game or I had one on, and I just had that refreshing. It's been bad luck to watch my players, so I just game cast this. But anyway, I happened to check the box score right at this time. I'm looking at the thing again, similar to last week. First carry goes Bijan, gets like 9 yards. I'm like, all right. Then the next 4 carries go to Algier, and they go down the field with Algier. He gets like a 9-yard carry, a 5-yard carry, whatever it is. And I'm like, is Bijan Robinson hurt? Because last time he had he had the first 4 carries, and Tyler finished it up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But he only had 1 carry, and it was the first carry of a drive, and he didn't have the next 5 carries or whatever it was, the 4 to 5 carries. It's like, oh, please don't tell me he's hurt. Anyway, they finally get first and goal at the 1-yard line.
All right.
Did you watch? You might know what I'm talking about.
Then go, yeah.
I'm like, oh man, and I'm game cast watching. Tyler Algier rushes for no gain. I'm like, you stupid guys, just give it to Bijan Robinson. Second and goal at the 1. Tyler Algier carry for no gain. 3rd and goal at the 1. I'm like, you guys MFers, you got to be freaking kidding me. Put Bijan in, and I'm typing there like 2 straight carries, no yards, and then 3rd and 1. Tyler Algier 0-yard gain. 4th and 1 at the 4th and goal at the 1. Like, you MFers. Then I'm like, then they put Bijan in 1-yard touchdown run. They give Algier like 12 chances, he scores once. They give Bijan Robinson 3 chances, he scores once. Why don't you just do it already? It's so frustrating. But after that, because I think up to that point, they both had like 9 carries each, and they both had similar yards actually, except Bijan had a couple more catches. After that, it was like a 10-to-1 ratio of carries. They got to know. I mean, I'm not, listen, in all fairness, I get upset because I'm a Bijan Robinson manager here. Algiers a fine running back, but it's frustrating when they keep giving to the backup in like high leverage situation. It's not like let's give the guy a rest. It's like, oh, it's a 2-minute drill. We're down by 4 points. Let's give it to the back. Like when you have a guy who can break a 30-yard touchdown run on any given play, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, man, that's the assumption of rational coaching. You don't know what's going through these coaches' heads. You don't know what is he trying to motivate his player to play better, or are they trying to win a football game? Let's just win the football game, and we'll motivate when we have the lead. That's really what it comes down to.
In all fairness, Bijan Robinson was the highest scoring running back this week. He had an awesome day. But yeah, it was just, in a way, I was glad he failed Algier because it was so blatant. Like, give the guy the ball who can get in like in less attempts.
Yeah. And then one big note for this game, Kamara passes Mark Ingram for the Saints all-time rushing record, 6,544 yards.
I did see that, and I was not surprised. I mean, Ingram played there for a while, but he had up and down. He had like 3 really good years and a couple ones where he was the backup, and then ones where he was sharing with Kamara. But for the longest time, even when Kamara had his best fantasy seasons, he didn't do it with the rushing game. There'd be a lot of times you're like, he only had 200-yard rushing games this season because he'd have 100-yard receiving games, or 80. He'd have 80 and 40 or 80 and 80.
He is the all-purpose back.
Yeah, so the fact that he got to one of those not total yards leader, he's the rushing leader, is actually a little bit surprising. And kudos to you, Mr. Kamara. Appreciate that. That's good.
Yeah, and a lot of his rushing yards come off of big rushes. Though when he breaks free, he's downfield quick. So
yeah.
All right, now moving on
to
the nail biter here. San Francisco defeated Tampa Bay 23-20 on Jake Moody's game-winning field goal. Lots of drama in this one.
So Moody, similar to Young Shui Koo, although he had the last chance. He missed 3 kicks, I believe, today, at least 2. He had a rough day.
He missed 3 attempts.
I was doing yard work today, so I had this game on the earpiece, so I was listening to this entire game because I was curious how the McCaffrey splits were going to go, among other things. And they were saying, you mentioned in our pre tape here that they're like, it's hot today, man, and they're putting the 49ers in the dark reds. I don't know if it's dark red, but in the color jerseys to try and see if they can wear them down. And they're like, if we can just get this running game, because I think the Bucs start off kind of not hot, but they were pounding it using the running game, as you could tell by how Mayfield's stat line went. They were like, we have 3 good running backs, we have 1 good tight end. Let's use our strength and let's pound it. And the thought was to wear them down. I don't know if it happened. It seemed like they did a little bit. Their defense, I thought the Bucs defense played great today. Situational stops. I mean, they didn't stop them every time. Kittle had a touchdown, and Juwan Jennings had a nice day. But like they stopped a lot of third downs. They wrapped up McCaffrey. McCaffrey had a fine day total in yards, but a lot of his runs were stuffed. And Levante David was making big tackles. Like they didn't break as many tackles. They broke some, but like I said, just listening, a lot of big third down tackles by the Bucs today kept them in it longer than they probably could have been. A couple turnovers, I think, by the 49ers and missed field goals kept Tampa in it. And this game was just close all the way through.
Yeah, this was definitely a close game. It had a little bit of everything, but the thing that I got out of this game was how tough Baker was, and just an example of that was, I think Baker was scrambling out to his right, and he had Bosa. He had a stiff arm out for Bosa. Bosa was on his arm, holding onto his arm, and Baker's running to the sideline still, trying to keep him off. And
is that the pass he threw to Rashad White?
As he's falling, he throws a first down pass. And the announcers are like, what's going on with Bosa? Why didn't he just drop? Like you were holding his hand, just drop your weight, take him down with you. And Baker, I mean, it's just one of those things. He's got, it's that it factor that everybody talks about.
I was listening to that on the radio. It was like a 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 9 or 4th and 9. It was a big play. They needed to score that drive, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they definitely did. So this one, you're right. Moody missed 3 field goals before hitting that game winner. But it was a good back and forth. The drama though is at the end. Deebo Samuel and the long snapper started going at each other.
I heard that. I didn't know the context. I mean, I know he said he was frustrated with the kicker, but nothing personal or whatever. But I guess he was flipping out. I thought it was before the final kick. It was after the final kick he actually made.
No, it was before it. It was before it. So they're kind of going back and forth after, I guess, the last one that he missed. And there was a nice, like, Deebo put a little hands to the helmet to the long snapper, And it was like, I was like, oh man, there's some stuff going on here. So it'd be interesting to see that press conference afterwards. So
I did notice by listening again, I don't know how many targets Sterling Shepard had. Sterling Shepard, Sterling Shepard. He was on the dud list here. I didn't put him on there because he's not a big time player.
yeah.
But the last game we saw, he had 3 end arounds. I don't think of him as a fast receiver. They kept most of his work was on like these long end arounds, not even quick ones.
Yeah.
And I heard a couple times today, they're like, on the end around, I'm like, waiting for the name, Sterling Shepard. Like, why do you guys keep running Sterling? It's like part of their game plan to give him 2 end arounds a game. It's odd. I guess they have to diversify the thing. They can't have. I don't know. It never works either. It gets strung out every time. It's just a weird waste of a play.
Yeah. So a couple of other quick notes here. Bucks lost the 2nd straight game on the final play. Ricky Pearsall, first NFL touchdown on a 46-yard catch since he's been back on the field after being shot. And then McCaffrey's little breakdown here was 39 rushing yards and then 68 receiving yards.
So he had 1 long catch down the sideline. I'm assuming the sideline, the way it was described, it was like I think they said Purdy was just like freaking out and just kind of threw it up, and then like McCaffrey was just where he threw it up to, the way it was described. But that was a 30-yard play. So I'm not saying without that play, that's what McCaffrey can do. But without that play, he had 38 and 38 rushing and receiving. He just that's what makes him good. He can slow him down one place and he can fill up the other side. He didn't score the touchdown today, fantasy wise. So like you said, you're probably better off playing him the first week he's back instead of anything time after that.
Exactly.
And so we'll take surviving a 14-point day from McCaffrey.
Yeah. Don't be mad, man. There's some people that did not get those points for some of their players. So
right.
You did good. You did good. Okay, moving on here. Buffalo Bills defeated the Indianapolis Colts 30-20.
All right, so this one got out of hand quick. The Colts made it a little interesting for a moment after that, but I think it was the first drive, I believe. I don't think it might have been the first pass, but the first drive, Flacco threw a pick 6. He has been looking. Now he's playing against some big time teams. Did he play against Minnesota and Buffalo? I mean, come on, that's a tough draw. But for being one of the Joe Cools, he's been looking pretty flustered in these last 2 games against good, strong defenses. Got him off to a bad start. Again, I think they came back. I think it was like it was 7-zip, then it might have been 10-zip, but then it was 14-10. But then after that, it was like 31-10.
Well, Bills led 10-0 after Johnson's pick 6.
Right, that's what I thought.
And the field goal. But the Colts briefly led 13-10 before Allen's touchdown run.
And then it was like 31-13 or something.
Then the Bills just pulled away in the 4th quarter.
Right.
So, yeah.
So my thought here right away is there wasn't a lot of Jonathan Taylor had a good day, but I don't know how much of that was kind of garbage time where they're dropping back and they're just letting the draw plays work out because they were down by 20 points for the most of the second half.
Yeah,
the Colts were. How do you assess? Jonathan's
His big run came when the game was still a game. He did good. I think it's one of those things. Pittman not being there kind of hindered that a little bit. But he played well. I don't have a problem starting Jonathan Taylor. I just have a problem with the game scripts and the coaching. As far as getting him the ball even when you're down.
So
they did good.
A little teaser here for our early waiver wire thoughts. I'll just mention it here while we're here, in case you guys don't make it to the end. But stay to the end. The quote after the game was, just to reiterate, Joe Flacco is our starting quarterback as of right now, going forward as of right now.
As of right now.
it was like okay. I'm making my decision for the future. If I had to make it now, that's what I'm going to say. But of course, tomorrow's a different day. So does that put Anthony Richardson was dropped in a lot of leagues? He was dropped in our league. Again, that's a headache. But when it comes down to it, there's not, you have to make decisions with people being ineffective and or hurt. Does Anthony Richardson become a raise your eyebrow, keep an eye on, maybe not pick up yet, but definitely put those Colts beat reporters in the front of your aggregator?
Possibly. They're playing the New York Stinky Jets next week. So, anything's possible against the Jets.
All right.
Wait,
anything else for this game? This was pretty much a domination by the James Cook had a nice day. I think 80 plus yards and a touchdown, and they just dominated today.
Yeah. So one notable stat here. Josh Allen tied O.J. Simpson for the second for second in Bills history with 57 rushing touchdowns.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was going to insert a joke before you finish that, but I just thought better to hold my tongue.
All right, moving on quickly. New England Patriots defeated the Chicago Bears 19-3.
This was, again, not physically got eyes on this game, a box score watch. I don't know if Caleb's played poorly, but he got sacked 9 times today. He was just devoured back there. They didn't score any points again. What'd you say the score was? Something to 3, right?
19-3.
It's the second straight week the Bears have lost. Like last week, I think they lost like 29-6 or something. This week they lost 19-3. Their offense is getting worse. They had that little blip in the middle, and they went on bye at the wrong time, I guess, because after that bye, they have been back to how they were the first 2 weeks of the year. They have been abysmal. Our Mac Daddy 2 sacked Caleb Williams. Thank God, as he was one of the lowest scoring quarterbacks this week. Yeah. Drake May I don't know if he didn't have to do anything because of the way the defense was playing. He just kind of managed the game stat wise. He did have a touchdown pass, I believe, as opposed to a run. Yeah, they just dominated the game. They got up. The other team didn't score at all. So every time they scored, they just increased their lead.
Yeah. So they only gained 142 total yards to the Bears. They only went 1 for 14 on third downs. It was rough. It was rough. So the big takeaways for me in this was that it's basically coaching. The Bears, they're considering removing their play calling duties from Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator.
Oh, wow.
Matt Eberflus, their coach, he's 14-29 as the Bears head coach. The fans were chanting "Fire Flus" late in the game.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And this last 4-game stretch was bad, but the previous 4-game stretch was really good for Caleb. So I don't know if it was the teams that they were playing, if they changed the game plan. I don't know. He's not a incompetent or not confident person. He's a very confident person.
Right. So yeah, like I mentioned that going into this week in our preview, it's like his quality games were against, I said, middle to bad defenses, and his horrible games were against middle to good defenses. One of two things. How would you rate the New England defense? They're somewhere in the middle. Are they?
They're in the middle. Yeah.
Middle, bottom middle, top middle.
Yeah, I think they're probably, based on what the team has to do because of the offense just not having firepower.
Right.
I would say that they're middle. I wouldn't say they're middle down. They did lose Judon. So they're not, I don't know.
I agree with you. I was just trying to get a baseline here for a point. So my point in that trying to declare where we're just going by what we kind of think based on all the information we have here.
Yeah.
Being that we think that they're middle, how I said Caleb could be useful against middle bad defenses. I think we're going to have to make that range smaller and be bottom third, maybe bottom quarter defenses. Right now, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, go bottom third defense. But if you're playing against a top 2/3 defense rather, the Bears can't play them.
Yeah, and that's a shame. It's a shame.
It is a shame.
We were all hyped up from that Hard Knocks. So, okay.
Propaganda.
You know what we didn't say? That whole Bear segment, we didn't mention once about Fat Keenan. All right,
he was the highest rated receiver today with because he didn't get the doubles. He had like 68 yards or 6.8 points or something.
Moving on. Los Angeles Chargers defeated the Tennessee Titans 27-17.
This was a little bit of it went in lulls and waves, I guess. There was a couple fireworks here. Justin Herbert was running around. I think he had a rushing touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. Had a nice long pass to not a long pass, but a nice strike to Quentin Johnston. Calvin Ridley got a touchdown in the first quarter. And actually, I was in that little spot where the 4:00 games were winding down, and I knew I was gonna have to get to the computer to start getting my stud list together. So I kind of laid down for like 20 minutes as the couple games were ended, but there was 5 minutes left in a couple other ones. And then I looked over and oh, Ridley scored again. He scored a not a garbage time touchdown, but one that didn't help the outcome to help in that monster day. But I think both teams played okay. Levis was running more. I didn't see him did he have one fumble loss maybe? I don't think he had interceptions today. Did he?
No, he was sacked 7 times, but he didn't have any interceptions. So.
That's what it was.
Which is good. I'd rather take the sack over him flicking the ball out there for
yes,
a touchdown, a reception, or interception touchdown.
Yes, I agree with that completely. Between the two things, you're gonna take the one over the other. I'm gonna just say this. We noticed this last year. He has no pocket presence or awareness of what's around him. His sacks, he's just staring this way, and then a guy just cracks him from the back. Like he never turns his head. He's like, I'm good. Sack. Like it's not like, it's one thing if you're getting chased, like I could probably flick this up. No, I'll just take it. It's like he gets sacks. He just sits there with like blinders on or something. It's like, it's kind of funny. He's just like a mannequin back there, and he just gets because he can move. He's a big guy. If he got some motion going and move, he slides the wrong way in the pocket. He doesn't step up, like instead of stepping up, he'll go to the left when there's, whatever. He just he's got bad pocket awareness, and I guess it showed up today. Again, you'll take a sack to a interception, but that's not good. Do you think in terms of Ridley and Pollard had an okay day today, being that they didn't have that much offense. Do you think Mason Rudolph wins for them? Rudolph's 2-1 as a starter. And Levis is 0-6 or 0-5, whatever it is. Do you think Rudolph is a better quarterback at this point?
I think that's a loaded question for me. I think Rudolph is a better game manager at this point. He has better pocket presence at this point, like you're saying. He's just got more experience,
right?
So it makes him better. But I think Will Levis might have a better skill set. He just doesn't know how to use it yet. Which you could put on the coaches, or he's really hard headed and he's got mayo in his ears, and he can't get what they're trying to tell him in watching game film or whatever the case is, or on the sidelines watching the Surface Pro pads. Like I don't know, but
so
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm making a character here. I'm not really calling it. Just let's just say Will Levis is a blockhead, okay, like a dummy or whatever. I'm not saying that he is. So he goes to the side like, dude, you can't throw interceptions. Just take the sack. He's like, got it, coach. Take the sack. And he goes in and he just gets sacked. I was like, dude, coach, I did what you said. I didn't throw an interception. I took the sack. He's like, I didn't, whatever. And just like talking to a wall. I could see that being the case. And I'm going to play that up. That's going to be our new character for Will Levis. Just whatever you say, coach.
Whatever you say, coach. All right, moving on. Let me see if there's any big notable things here. There was a controversial call which I didn't see. Herbert's apparent fumble touchdown return was overturned right before the half. I didn't see what was going on there, so if any of our viewers saw that and have an opinion, leave it in the comments. But we'll move on then.
Yeah, I saw it was reviewed. That's all I saw. That it kind of was held up for a little bit. Did they call it a fumble at first and then overturned it, or they called a touchdown and then kept it?
I missed it.
Fair enough.
All I saw that it was a controversial turn or a controversial call. All right.
Gotcha.
Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Dallas Cowboys 34-6. I don't think we need to spend too much time on this one.
No.
They definitely missed. They missed the mark here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Cooper Rush did not do it. They were down. It was close. I think it was 10-6. I think it was definitely 7-3. And then while they were still in the game, I'm not obviously the way the game ended out, it wouldn't matter probably in the long run. But they were down by I think it was 10-6 at this point, somewhere in that range, 7-3, 7-6, 10-6. They were getting ready to score. It was either first and goal at the 9. They were in between the 8 and 12 yard line. And Rico Dowdle at that point had 50 plus yards on 9 carries. And this was in the first half, if I'm not mistaken. And then they gave it to Ezekiel Elliott, who promptly fumbled the ball. Fumbled into the end zone. I don't know if it fumbled out of the end zone, but the thing that caught my attention was he fumbled at the 8 yard line and it got into the end zone. I don't know how you fumbled. Would you just throw the ball forward? How do you fumble the ball 8 yards forward to be recovered in the end zone or go through the end zone?
Yeah, that was a tough one. That defense had 5 forced fumbles, but that was his first game back from his disciplinary sit, and he fumbled it in the end zone. It didn't go through the back. So
that's okay. That's what the announcer was saying. Is like he was I don't know how they phrase it, but essentially like, after his I don't want to say hissy fit, that's strong, but like after saying like, dude, I need the ball. I'm assuming like, man, I'm the old man. I've been here so long. I deserve the carry. All right, here you go. And then you fumble it. It's like, now I can't give you the carry anymore. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, this was a one-sided game. It really was. It was tough to watch. what's his name? Trey Lance did come in for a moment and threw an interception, and then
I saw that like the second pass was a pick.
and then right back out. Michael Parsons did have 2 sacks this was his first game back. So that was good to see. He was all over the field though. He just couldn't get the plays to make the team, have some defensive scores or anything like that.
So we mentioned Devontae Smith was a dud, actually. I'm assuming you maybe watched this game, although it was hard to watch by the score. How did AJ Brown fare? I know he's coming off that knee bruise. He had a decent game. I think 100 yards, if I'm not mistaken, or pretty close.
Yeah, he did pretty good. He had some bursts. There was some couple of go routes that he hit and was hit in stride. And they kept a little longer than I thought they were going to because of the score. Because Kenny Pickett came in,
and he was still in,
and he was still in for a minute. But he looked good. Yeah, he didn't look bad at all. But they didn't really need to go to him. With the pass that I saw, where the game was already out of hand. I'm like, oh, they're throwing it to him long. I think they were just practicing. Honestly,
yeah.
I think they're like him and Hurts were like, this is live game. Let's just try this. Let's see if we can get our timing down. Let me see if your speed is still there.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned this at that one game when they played. I believe it was against Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken, where they kept going for touchdowns after they were up by 17 points with like 3 minutes to go. And then the next week when Cincinnati against the Raiders, they were scoring to get a lead, but then they finally, I'm not sure if it was Chase Brown, one of their players slid in and didn't score that last touchdown. I'm like, Philly would have gone for that score. I think they're just jerks. I think they just try and rub it in. I think they try and score as much as they can. They're like, we're gonna a little practice with their backup quarterback. Let's see if we can get AJ Brown one more. Although it is Dallas, what you'd want to humiliate. That's one. If you're gonna humiliate a team, your rival's one you want to do it to. So I kind of get that, but I think they have that mentality of like, we're just gonna try and score one more time just to show you we can.
Exactly. Okay, moving on. Arizona Cardinals. Ooh, good game. No, I'm sorry, not good game. Good team. Arizona Cardinals defeated the New York Jets 31-6. These afternoon games, they were just out of hand. They were nice to watch for fantasy points, but they weren't really good games.
So, James Conner, man, he sets the tone for that team. Kyler Murray's has either 28-point games or 6-point games, it seems like, or somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
I didn't play him today. I was nervous as heck. I was going with a matchup with Tua here. Hopefully he can come out tomorrow. But they've been dominating lately. They won a couple close games when they were kind of figuring it out. And like I said, their defense is a strength of their team, or at least they're playing as a strength of their team. And when you have I don't know if it's because of the style of play with the running game being the definition of the offense, that the defense just naturally falls in to be a strength because of the way you're playing for like time and pounding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's whether it's by accident or on purpose, those are the types of teams that I don't want to say they're going to have a long playoff run, but that's the combination of skill sets you want for a long playoff run, a running team and a strong defense with a quarterback who can I'm not saying he's as like good as Mahomes, but like that randomness in a game that gets mucked up and nothing happens. You have a guy who can do a random 40-yard touchdown run or something. Yeah. It's a decent combination of types of play style to go pretty far, and they're starting to win.
All right, so I don't have this team breakdown in front of me, but their defense, no touchdowns allowed at home for the 3rd straight game.
Oh wow!
So I don't know who they've played at home for 3 straight games, but
I'm assuming it was Chicago last week. I know they dominated Chicago, and so I'm gonna say that game was at home. Yeah, because it rained. It rained inside last week. That's right.
Yeah. So that's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome for them. As far as key notable things here, that's Cardinals' 4th straight win. That's really it. The Jets look bad. Everybody looked bad on the Jets, honestly.
They're just a tinderbox because, like, you're going to get, and I'm not, we have to make fun, but it's like, it can't be a fun work environment. Like, it's like being afraid to make a mistake makes you make mistakes. Like, if you're worried about Aaron Rodgers giving you a side eye because you didn't run the right pattern, and then when you do run it and then you drop it because you're like, I got to make sure to run the right pattern. Like, it just kind of, and I'm not blaming Aaron Rodgers on, but I'm saying
no, you can blame Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, it can't. You could see them like as the game goes along, they get less and less fired up. They get less and less focused. They're more worried about is the manager going to bring me in the office as opposed to just doing the job kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where the team takes on the identity of the coach or the quarterback, and since they fired their coach, which they should not have, they're taking on the identity of the quarterback. And if he's just got this complacent, I don't know if he's microdosing on the field kind of,
Oh,
you
jeez.
know, like he got sacked a couple times and he's just putting his head down and he's getting rolled up on. And the last sack that I saw at the end of the game, he like 3 or 4 players like ran up to him to make sure he was okay to get him up. It's like he's the prized possession. So if he's not on, if he's not playing good, if he's not in high spirits, then the team isn't.
It's like that friend you like walk on eggshells to like hang out with. Like, I want to hang out with you, dude, but like it's so hard.
And who's that friend, Mike? We all have the same friends. Who's that friend, Mike?
If you can't think of one, it's probably you yourself. It's probably me, not you, but yeah.
Oh no. All right. And that's it. That's the last game we got, bud.
All right, very good. All right, well, we're a little longer in our tooth here, which is fine with perfect timing here.
Yeah.
So let's see. All right, let's get to our early waiver wire thoughts here. I've got a short list today, so if you want to go off, I'll fill in some gaps. It's up to you.
No, you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got 3 quarterbacks here. One I didn't put on the list right away. This is dangerous. I got Anthony Richardson. One, they're playing the Jets, like you said. That game could go either way, as these guys are both looking to play a weaker opponent. I don't think he's going to play this week, but the way the team is losing, I don't think it's a lock that Flacco is going to finish the year as the starter. At a certain point, they're going to just gamble or all the season will be lost. So I don't know if it's this week, but if this is more of a long-term, keep your ears up for Anthony Richardson. We know he can get 30-point games. He's not a long-term starter in terms of an every week starter, but as a spot start, get lucky at the right time. He might win you a week in the most desperate of ways. I also got Will Levis, only because he's back on the field. He's pretty disappointing. He's been killing my emotions all season long. But again, he's just a starting quarterback getting back on the field, and we're losing guys when bye weeks are coming in hot and heavy for the next 3 weeks. And I put one more on here. I was surprised I actually didn't put it on as we were talking. Trey Lance, he's awful. He's no skills, but if you want a potential guy who can run for 34 yards, throw a touchdown, I would stay away. I'm just putting him up there because the way the game went today, I think Cooper Rush has 1 or 2 more games before they say, why not? Let's see what we got with this guy. We already had on the team for 2 years. Let's see if we should just cut him by this point.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I might take that Trey Lance off there though and put Bryce Young in his place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're that desperate that you need to get Trey Lance, Bryce Young at least has more capability of making something happen. I think Trey Lance.
I don't disagree. He's definitely playing right now. It was funny watching the game because he had a couple. I think he had like a long run for a first down. Obviously, I don't know if it was a third and long on the play, but he was getting up and doing the first downs and like kind of shaking and stuff, and then he gets sacked the next play. But whatever. But it's like the announcer, like, when's the last time you seen Bryce Young smile? He's having fun out there. He's still not great, but on the opposite end of the Aaron Rodgers thing, feeling good, your team gets confidence, you start winning. You can turn it around. He was a high prospect, although I was surprised at I didn't realize how small he was standing next to like Dalton and other players. He has not so much short, which he is, but like he's a skinny guy. He looks like Devontae Smith out there being quarterback.
Right. Yeah. The quarterback waiver pool at this moment is pretty thin. So
it's very weak. Yes.
Yeah. So, all right, what do you got for some early waivers for running backs?
I don't have any running backs on my list.
I don't have any. I don't have any either. I
mean,
you're looking at like Tyjae Spears or Trey Benson. There's really nothing.
The rotisserie of backs have been picked up and dropped throughout the day from Crazy Fish are the only ones that are worth mentioning here.
Exactly. Cam Akers.
Yep, they were all picked up and dropped today. All those guys.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So wide receiver, tight end. Then that's a need that I have.
I only have 2 on here. You're not going to like it, but if you want a shot in the dark, only because he was dropped, I don't see great outcome here. But these rookies sometimes take a while and then they pop. I got Xavier Worthy on here because he was dropped in our league this week. So he's someone who's he had a goose 2 weeks ago. He only had 0.6 points this week. So I'm not saying he's to pick him up off of a good game, but he's on I won't say high powered offense. No, a historically high powered offense, not a this year high powered offense. But nonetheless, he's on the field a lot. He plays for the Chiefs. They're playing Buffalo next week. Both defenses are pretty good, but these games are. In their history, these Buffalo Chief games are crazy. high scoring games. They're kind of like that Baltimore Ravens game that we had on Thursday. I'm not saying that it's going to be like that, but they've been like that in the past.
Yeah, and then watch the injury reports for the New Orleans Saints receivers. See who's out there, because MVS is out there, so he might be a little pickup if you need some quick help. But we'll get into it when we do our full waiver report. Alec Pierce is still out there as well. So these are just offenses that they're going to throw the ball downfield. Rashad Bateman's out there, and I think he's better than what he's been playing at, but there's so many mouths to feed on that team at the moment.
Yeah, Bateman's on there. I didn't update his opponent, so I might have this wrong. TJ Hawkinson is still out there. He was more involved today, but they had their offense, even though they had the ball forever, they were just kind of milking the clock at the end once they realized Jacksonville wasn't going to score again.
Exactly. So, all right.
I do have two defenses on here if you're done with positional players.
Yeah, let's keep moving on.
So I have Green Bay as they're playing Chicago next week. And as I was putting this in the doc, Crazy Fish, he is the most active Saturday, Sunday player, and I appreciate him for it. He got ahead of the game, picked up Green Bay, who's going to play against Chicago. So they're off the list. I also have now New Orleans. They played decent today on defense.
Yeah.
They're up against the Cleveland Browns, and Jameis Winston is always due for a pick six.
Oh, yeah.
That's, again, these are a little harder to choose here. I got Green Bay against Chicago, which is off the board in our league, and New Orleans against a Jameis Winston team is always a chance for a touchdown.
Sounds good. All right, is Cade York active yet?
No, he had two tryouts and he still didn't get signed. They're like, yeah, we've seen enough.
Come on, Cade.
At least he's still in the contact book. That's good.
All right,
guys. I think we've gone through everything today. A very low scoring fantasy day out there, unless you're the Jamar Chase, unless you had some of that Ravens Cincinnati game on Thursday night and a couple other games today. But for the most part, it was a dud weekend. So I apologize to you guys for that. With that being said, guys, may your glasses be... Oh, wait, before I even do that, don't forget you can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music. You can also find either our video and or audio feeds on wingmanentertainment.net/podcast. And if you want to see these pretty faces, go ahead and head to our YouTube channel at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube. Go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you'll be alerted right when our content gets posted. And leave a comment. We've already got a few comments. I don't know if you've noticed. We've had a lively comment section. I've got more on the wingmanfantasyfootball.com. We got some on YouTube. We're going to have a nice mailbag this Thursday. Keep them coming, and we'll go from there. So with that, my friends, may your glasses be full, your mugs stay frosty.
And remember, patience is a virtue, but so is panic dropping your entire team.
That happens more often. Yes. Very good job, guys. All right. Have a great week, guys.